Margaret, who had worked at California's most prestigious golf club, Pebble Beach Country, for 30 years, thought she could tell at a glance what kind of people belonged to this club. But that day, she was about to learn the biggest lesson of her life, because the ordinary-looking elderly man walking through the door had enough money in his pocket to buy the entire club. On a sunny Monday morning, Ozzy Osbourne stepped into the club wearing faded blue jeans, a worn black t-shirt, and those famous sunglasses. He had scuffed black cowboy boots on his feet, his hair was scattered over his shoulders, and his overall appearance didn't fit California's most elite golf club at all. He didn't even know how to play golf. Coming from a working-class background in Birmingham, golf had always seemed like a rich man's game to him. What he was curious about now was whether he could really learn this game and how this elite world actually worked. When Margaret saw Ozzy, she frowned and lowered her glasses to the tip of her nose. This man was flagrantly violating the club's strict dress code and was clearly in the wrong place. What she saw was completely different from the noble members who wore expensive polo shirts, cream-colored pants, and Italian leather shoes. "Sir," she said in a cold and distant voice, "I think you've come to the wrong address. This is a private club, and we only serve our members. Perhaps what you're looking for might be the municipal golf course." Ozzy, with that familiar smile of his, said, "Hello, dear lady. I'd like to learn golf. Could I possibly take lessons here?" Margaret's expression hardened even more, as if she felt the club's prestige was under attack. "Sir, golf lessons here are very expensive, and we only serve customers who meet certain standards. Perhaps you could find more reasonably priced places." Ozzy politely interrupted her. "Don't worry about money, dear lady. Tell me, how expensive is it? Perhaps I have more money than you think." Margaret looked him up and down in amazement. This man's relaxed attitude was bothering her. Normal people usually became shy when faced with the club's exclusivity, apologized, and left. But this man acted as if he belonged here. "Sir, a private golf lesson is $500, and the membership application fee is $25,000. Of course, you'd need to go through an evaluation process first." Ozzy nodded thoughtfully. $500? Nice. So what exactly is this evaluation process? You're not going to ask if I'm good at math, are you? Because I'll tell you, I left school at 15. Margaret didn't know what to say. This man's humor had surprised her, but she still had to follow the rules. Meanwhile, voices from the club's main salon began to rise. The club's president, William Thornbridge, had noticed Ozzy along with several important members. Thornbridge was 62 years old, a third-generation club member, and old money. His grandfather was one of the club's founders, and he saw himself as the natural owner of this place. Beside him were California's biggest real estate mogul, Charles Hampton, and Wall Street's legendary investor, Robert Steinberg. "Margaret," said Thornbridge, approaching with an authoritative voice, "what does this gentleman want from us?" Margaret quickly and somewhat anxiously explained, "Mr. Thornbridge, he wanted golf lessons, but regarding the dress code." Thornbridge interrupted, looking Ozzy up and down. "Sir, we have a very strict dress code here. Also, this is a members-only club. I think you can find more suitable places. There are several public courses in Monterey." But Ozzy's response was very different from what they expected. "Dress code? Interesting concept. So what would happen if I started playing golf in my current outfit? Would the golf balls get scared and run away when they see my t-shirt?" Among the distinguished members beside Thornbridge were not only Hampton and Steinberg, but also Tech World's young billionaire Michael Davidson, Beverly Hills' famous plastic surgeon Dr. Patricia Sanderson, and Hollywood producer Jonathan Cross. Hampton had been one of the club's most active members for 20 years and had no tolerance for any changes. "Thornbridge," said Hampton politely but firmly, "I think our friend hasn't quite grasped what kind of place this is. We have certain standards here." Steinberg, clinking his crystal whiskey glass, agreed. "Perhaps municipal golf clubs would be more suitable for him. The dress code is more flexible there." Dr. Sanderson also chimed in. "By the way, sir, I don't even want to mention the age of that t-shirt." These comments drew giggles from other club members, and the atmosphere was becoming increasingly tense. But Ozzy didn't look angry at all. On the contrary, he seemed to be enjoying himself. "Municipal golf clubs?" he said, nodding thoughtfully. "You know, my whole life people have told me I was going to the wrong places. At our first Black Sabbath concert, they said, 'This music can't be played here. This kind of music doesn't belong here.' Now those songs have been playing for 54 years and millions of people listen to them. Life is sometimes very strange, isn't it?" These words began to catch the attention of some members in the club. Michael Davidson, a 35-year-old tech entrepreneur and one of the club's youngest members, sensed something familiar in Ozzy's voice and style. "Excuse me," he said politely but curiously. "Are you a professional musician?" Ozzy replied with that familiar devilish grin. "I used to dabble in music a bit, yes. There was a band called Black Sabbath. Maybe you've heard of it. Not very famous, but we had a few songs that some people liked." Davidson's eyes began to widen, but other members were still skeptical and weren't taking this seriously. Thornbridge laughed and swung his golf club. "Black Sabbath, huh? So I suppose you're also Mick Jagger? Or are you Paul McCartney?" Charles Hampton added ironically, "Sir, there's no need for such fantasy games here. If you're really a serious customer, you need to prove your identity." Ozzy unhurriedly pulled out his old leather wallet from his pocket. The wallet bore the marks of years, but the ID card inside was pristine. "John Michael Osbourne," he said, extending the card to Margaret. "But my friends call me Ozzy. Born 1948, Birmingham, England." Margaret's hands were trembling as she took the card. Michael Davidson immediately pulled out his phone and started searching on Google. "Ozzy Osbourne, born 1948, Birmingham, Black Sabbath founder." Then he looked up from his screen and stared directly at Ozzy. "Paranoid album, 1970? Iron Man. War Pigs?" Ozzy nodded approvingly. "We wrote Paranoid in 20 minutes. We had some time left in the studio. The producer said, 'Record something else? Fill up the album.' Tony Iommi found the riff, and I wrote the lyrics. That song has been feeding us for 54 years. Isn't it strange? Something written in 20 minutes touched millions of people's lives." The club slowly began to stir. Some members approached curiously, while others still couldn't believe it. Dr. Sanderson asked in amazement, "Are you really that Ozzy Osbourne, the one who bit the bat's head?" Ozzy laughed. "Ah, that damn bat story. Yes, doctor, that's real. It was a concert in Des Moines in 1982. They usually threw plastic bats on stage, but that night someone threw a real bat. The poor animal was already dead. I didn't notice. Then I had to get rabies shots." This explanation began to break the ice a bit at the club. But Thornbridge still didn't want to fully believe it, and was trying to keep the situation under control. "If you're really a famous rock star," he said in a skeptical tone, "why are you walking around in such street clothes? Millionaire musicians usually dress more elegantly." Ozzy shrugged and replied with that relaxed, uncomplicated attitude of his. "I'm 75 years old, sir. I'm not trying to impress anyone anymore. Sharon constantly says, 'Ozzy, even Adam Sandler at your age dresses more elegantly.' But I'm comfortable like this. Besides, you don't need expensive clothes to make good music. I wrote our most beautiful songs in jeans and old t-shirts." Jonathan Cross, as a Hollywood producer, knew the music world closely. "Mr. Osbourne, if you're really you, can you tell us the story behind 'Mama, I'm Coming Home'?" Ozzy's face softened. "Ah, that song. I wrote it when I learned Sharon had cancer. I had cancelled tours to stay home and take care of her. That song is actually a love letter to Sharon." At this point, the club's atmosphere began to change noticeably. Young members like Davidson began to show respect to Ozzy, while Thornbridge and the older generation members still maintained their resistance. "Mr. Osbourne," said Thornbridge, still trying to maintain authority in his voice, "while we appreciate your musical achievements, we have certain standards here. Golf culture, tradition, etiquette, rules. These rules have been applied the same way for 150 years. Ozzy thoughtfully interjected, "Tradition? Interesting word. When I was growing up in Birmingham, in high school they used to tell me, 'Working-class kids like you can't come in here. This isn't your place.' Now you're saying the same thing, just with more polite words. I guess some things never change, just the packaging gets updated." These words began to make the young members, and even some older members at the club, uncomfortable. Davidson gathered his courage and stepped forward. "Mr. Osbourne, we could arrange a suitable membership package for you. We could also be flexible about the dress code." But Thornbridge tried to silence the young man with a stern look. "Michael, I make these decisions. Rules are rules." When Ozzy fully understood the situation, that familiar devilish smile appeared on his face. "I understand the situation, Mr. Thornbridge. Then I have a different proposal for you." Everyone in the club perked up their ears curiously. "I want to buy this club." All conversations in the salon suddenly stopped. Crystal glasses hung suspended in the air. Everyone stared at Ozzy in amazement. The silence was so intense they could even hear the ocean sounds coming from outside the club. Margaret dropped the files in her hands. Dr. Sanderson's mouth fell open, and Davidson barely caught his phone to keep from dropping it. After staring in shock for a few seconds, Thornbridge began to laugh. "Buy it? Mr. Osbourne, this club is worth $85 million. Besides, it's not for sale. This is a family legacy." Ozzy replied calmly, without any rush. "Everything is for sale, sir. You just need to find the right price." "How about $100 million cash? Payable today?" This figure deepened the silence in the club even more. $100 million was far above the club's value, and the cash payment offer was completely serious. The blood drained from Thornbridge's face. Are you serious? This isn't a joke, is it?" Ozzy pulled out his phone from his pocket, without any hurry. "Let me call my lawyers and financial advisors to see if the money is ready. I'll also want legal consultation for the changes I plan to make here." Davidson asked, holding his breath. "What kind of changes, Mr. Osbourne?" Ozzy winked at him. "Pleasant changes, Michael. Humane changes." Thornbridge was now in real panic. He knew very well that he only owned an 8% stake in the club, and that the majority of the board would not reject such an offer. He didn't have the power to prevent this sale with his small share. "Mr. Osbourne, please, there's no rush. Maybe we can talk. Find a solution," he said. Ozzy looked at him before opening his phone. "Now you want to talk, Mr. Thornbridge? Interesting." Sweat drops began to appear on Thornbridge's forehead. Maybe we could give you a special membership. We could also be flexible about the dress code." Ozzy shook his head sadly. "No, sir, it's too late now. You see, all my life I've gotten used to people telling me, 'This isn't your place.' High school principals, work supervisors, record companies, even fans sometimes. But what's different is this. Now I'm in a position to say the same thing to you." The club members were now listening carefully to Ozzy's every word, because this wasn't just a purchase offer anymore, it was becoming a life lesson. "When I buy this club, the first change will be to completely eliminate the dress code. Second, to remove from membership anyone who judges people by their appearance. Third, to give scholarship memberships to people with low income levels who want to learn golf." Michael Davidson and several young members courageously stepped forward. "Mr. Osbourne," Davidson said respectfully, "we don't agree with this type of discrimination. We'd like to invite you here, and we support these changes." Dr. Sanderson also joined in. "I agree with this thinking too. Maybe it really is time for change." Ozzy gave them a sincere smile. "You're good people, but the system is broken. I'm going to fundamentally change this system." Then he turned to Thornbridge. "Mr. Thornbridge, I'm giving you one last chance. Open this club's doors to everyone, eliminate the dress code, treat people equally, and welcome anyone who wants to learn golf." Thornbridge's pride and traditional values wouldn't allow this. "This is impossible, Mr. Osbourne. 150 years of tradition." Ozzy raised his hand and cut him off. "Then I'm starting the purchase process." He opened his phone and began talking. "Jerry, I need to buy a golf club in California. Pebble Beach Country Club. $100 million cash. Yes, today. As fast as possible." The panic atmosphere in the club had reached its peak. Members were looking at each other with stunned expressions, some trying to grasp the seriousness of the situation. Thornbridge made one last attempt. "Mr. Osbourne, this club has been the Thornbridge family's for 150 years. Ozzy gently interrupted him. "And now it's time for 150 years of change." Sometimes old structures need to be torn down so new ones can be built. He finished his phone conversation and smiled at everyone in the club. The process has begun, ladies and gentlemen. By this time tomorrow, I'll be the new owner of this place. Then he turned to all the members and continued speaking. You know, when I was working in a butcher shop in Birmingham, getting up at 5 every morning to go slaughter animals, I had no idea that music would change my life like this. Back then, people looked down on me too. They said, nothing will come of this kid. What can this working-class boy do? Now, 50 years later, I'm buying a $100 million golf club. Margaret had started crying. Mr. Osbourne, I'm so sorry. I didn't recognize you. I treated you badly. Ozzy approached her gently and touched her shoulder. Margaret, you were just doing your job. The real problem is in the system. This system that judges people by their appearance and worships money and status. Then he raised his voice and addressed all the members. Starting tomorrow, this club will have new rules, and I want you to listen to them very carefully. First, everyone will be welcomed regardless of their appearance, clothing, or accent. Second, anyone who wants to learn golf will be able to take lessons, regardless of their financial situation. Third, membership fees will be adjusted according to income level. No one will be deprived of playing golf because of their financial situation. Fourth, the dress code will be completely eliminated. People will come in whatever clothes they're comfortable in. Charles Hampton voiced his objection. This will completely destroy the club's prestige and value. This will become just an ordinary public golf course. Ozzy looked at Hampton with a laugh. Mr. Hampton, isn't it time to learn that prestige comes from treating people well, not badly? Who have your expensive clothes benefited so far? These words left a deep and lasting impact on everyone in the club. Michael Davidson courageously stepped forward and extended his hand. Mr. Osbourne, would you like to see me on your club's board of directors? I support these changes and would like to help implement them. Ozzy shook his hand warmly. Of course, Michael. Change usually comes with young people, with open-minded people like you. Dr. Sanderson also stepped forward. I also support these changes, Mr. Osbourne. Maybe I can help members who need medical assistance too. Ozzy thanked her as well. Wonderful, Dr. Sanderson. That's what social responsibility is all about. Then he looked at Thornbridge one last time, his voice no longer harsh but understanding. Mr. Thornbridge, let me give you some sincere advice. You have money, you have position, but you can't buy empathy. Learn to value people, to accept them as they are, before it's too late. The next day the club really did change hands, and Ozzy's first golf lesson began in jeans and a Black Sabbath t-shirt.